Yeah. Click. Mic check. Yeah. Region Weekly. Deep inundation. Break it down simple. Demystify the system. Demystify deep in. Tap and tuning. Noise online. Yeah, the whole net moving. Bills get passed. Yeah, we track that movement. Region space drop. Alpha prove it. Macro talk, but we still stay winning. Better go up when the crowd start listening. From the chain to the world we bridging. Deep in the connection, yeah, we building. We don't chase hype, we decode systems. Congress floor, yeah, we read legislation. Bills get signed, market shift quick. Policy change, we already on it. CPIs, rate cuts pending. Fed chair talk, got the charts all bending. Infrastructure plays, long-term vision. Deep in those get real permission. Fiber lines run through the...
If Bitcoin falls 90% for the next 4 years, we'll refinance the debt.
Refinance where, Michael?
We'll just roll it forward. I mean, again...
But you think banks would lend to you at that point?
Yeah, because the volatility of Bitcoin is such that there's always going to be value. Look, you're at 68,000 right now. Literally has to fall to 8,000. Then we just refinance the debt. If you think it's going to zero, then we'll deal with that. But I don't think it's going to zero, and I don't think it's going to 8,000 either. But the credit risk is de minimis at this point.
Sure about that? Are you sure about that? I did not like that video. I don't know about you guys, but man, it's just going to roll it forward. Come on, bro. I know he's probably sick of getting the questions. You know, Bitcoin's been down. I get it. But, guys, this is the same guy back in the dot-com era. Lost $6 billion in one day. Back when $6 billion was a lot more money. Okay. So, didn't love that answer, frankly. I just didn't think it was a great answer. I agree with him. I don't think Bitcoin's going to $8,000. I don't think it's going to zero, guys. In fact, it's up today. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I played that. I actually had some longs on ETH and Bitcoin that I opened this morning before the stock market opened. Made some decent returns on that. Could have made more. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of trades actually this week, both shorting and longing. What I did well, what I could have done better, and what I'm going to do next time, and what I learned from those different trades. So that'll be exciting. I did meet with the CEO of Akash Network yesterday. I'm going to tell you about what we discussed. Some very interesting things there. Let's see. I'm going to talk about Brian Armstrong. All this talk about how he sold all this stock yesterday, or did he? And is the Binance FUD being overblown now? I think we were ahead of the curve on that. People are really upset about Binance. So, number one, let's talk about the big news that kicked off my longs on Bitcoin and Ethereum. So, this news came out. This is the big news of the day. CPI inflation numbers came in lower than expected. Okay, so that was obviously very good news. You then couple the fact that we had some other news come in, that Trump is planning on scaling back tariffs on steel and aluminum. Okay, so that's good. That also would ease some of the inflation concerns, right? In other words, you also got this news from a trade deal struck with Taiwan, so cutting tariffs as well. All of these news events that happened, some last night, some right before the market opened as far as inflation numbers, all indicate that the Fed is going to be more likely to cut rates. Okay, this is the things they balance, right? The job market, which the job market numbers haven't been great either. So the worse the job market numbers, they're more likely to cut rates. The more inflation comes down, that gives them more wiggle room to cut rates. Okay, so that was my main takeaway here. You'll notice this big one that got on inflation numbers came in at 7:32 a.m., an hour before, some Central Time, an hour before the markets open. So, of course, I was like, all right, I opened up some Bitcoin and Ethereum longs because conventional wisdom would say if those numbers came in low, inflation numbers came in low, it means that it's more likely that we're going to see more rate cuts this year. That's great for risk on assets. That's how we've seen this market react time and time again over the last year. You'll notice this 3 cuts was up 4% today. Okay. So look at the chart here on Bitcoin. It's right around here. Let me get rid of this. Right around here, where that 830, where we saw the news on, right on the inflation numbers coming in low. So on Bitcoin, I opened up longs right on that news. Sure enough, this thing freaking went off. Same with Ethereum. If we look here, news broke right around here. So I opened up a long. We did tap down. Obviously, not enough that I would get liquidated, but this thing was off to the races. So this is a way that I use the macro news. It's a pretty big news event to long the markets with stop losses below just to protect myself. I would say one thing that I didn't do well is that I should have, instead of cashing out, because I had profit taking right around $2,000 because we had continually been bumping up against this. So I took the vast majority of my profits here. I should have held that position longer on Ethereum. On Bitcoin, same thing. I ended up taking most of my profits like right around here. I could have held that, and we might go higher. I don't know. But at the same time, I printed like 40% on both, based off an inflation headline and a day where, there are a lot of asset classes that weren't doing necessarily extremely well, but that was a way that I played the macro on that. Now, what would I do differently moving forward? Instead of taking so much profit all at once, I would have taken, chunks of profit to let it play out more. I also, aside from just Bitcoin and Ethereum, I would have played Solana. So all the majors on that. So next time, that is what I intend to do. There's one other thing I want to bring up, and that is that I shorted gold and silver 2 days ago. I actually posted about this. So this is another example of how to play these markets. Because let's be real, DPEN in 2025 got wrecked. I feel very confident that the plays I'm in right now in DPEN are going to make me a shit ton of money when the markets return. But we don't know when the markets will return. We don't have control over that, guys. I mean, that's the deal. So in the interim, there's other ways to make money in this market, right? Last year, I reported a lot on macro events. Now I'm like, okay, how do I implement that to make money off of the understanding the macro events? I spent a lot of time educating myself, reading into macro, into the history of the dollar, learning how the global markets work. And now I can tie that to the markets, and I'm making very good trades on this, actually, which is pretty exciting. So here's another example. Okay, so this news broke the other morning, Wednesday morning. This was one of the first accounts that I saw break this news, that Russia was considering moving back to the US dollar as part of a wide-ranging economic partnership. Okay, well, that's a massive announcement. So, of course, I had to fact check it. So, by the way, if you're on X, an easy way to fact check these things, hit Grok. That's a good way to start, at least. Then it'll pull the sources generally for any type of news. It'll tell you if there's skepticism about that post. Okay, that's a good way to start to see if there's any major red flags. I did fact check this. It ended up being a Bloomberg report. It's like, holy shit. So this is a big deal because, you have to think about what's been going on with BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. I've been talking about this a lot over the last year and how they've had plans to de-dollarize, get away from the US dollar. It's a big reason why we've seen such a run on gold and silver is because people are like, okay, if we have to get out of the dollar, where do we go? We're not going to go to other currencies. Gold and silver have been going parabolic because of that, largely because of that, okay? This announcement, when I saw it, it reminded me of the Warsh situation, where people were getting out of the dollar. Well, now, Warsh was a hawk, considered a hawk. That's good for dollar strength. This announcement's very good for dollar strength. Okay, you look at like the DXY versus other currencies, and it was a reason to get out of the gold trade. And at that point, I was like, okay, we're going to see a major move in DXY. Sure enough, look at the timing here. Right after that, this is 9 a.m. on Wednesday morning. Look at the shoot up of DXY right after that announcement. Okay, this is a great example of, the Warsh announcement at that time, I was like, I posted, oh, this is bad for our crypto bag. Sure. But where else is it going to impact markets? It was the most obvious short event for gold and silver. This is a repeat of that. I'm like, okay, strengthened dollar again. Where's the play? Well, DXY going up just like last time. And sure enough, I opened up a short on gold that morning, printed 90%. Okay, so that was great. I actually sold at the perfect time too. What would I have done differently? I would have opened up a short on silver too, because silver is a smaller market cap. That one, the same position, I would do both next time, would have printed me over 200%. I also would have done this in my retirement account because there's a 2x silver short fund in there. So like thinking about ways to continue making more money on these types of trades. But guys, I'm not going to scoff at this. I mean, this is amazing. You get a 90% return on a short opportunity based on, a headline. So these are the types of opportunities I'm looking for. Obviously, I did, I think, a really good job of breaking it down last year on a macro level, but now I'm putting it into play into the markets. So I'm pretty excited about this year. I'm extremely excited about where DePIN's headed. Just right now, we don't know what's going to happen with the markets, guys. I think we know now that 1010, as we talked about back then, like we knew it was going to be a huge issue. It became a much bigger issue than I think a lot of us thought it would, and we're hoping it would be. So yeah, I'm continuing to add to my conviction plays there, but I'm leveraging other parts of the market. So it's just a couple of examples this week, guys. Like hit 40% on gold and silver, on Bitcoin and Ethereum today. Hit 90% on a short on gold. But there's more money that could have been made, and it's about learning, man. So moving forward, I will be taking further advantage of that. I'm going to be a little bit more transparent, open about some of these trades that I have conviction for. And as I'm doing it, because I think that would be helpful to kind of see it all play out for you guys. All right, let's talk about a couple of things that are in the headlines. Brian Armstrong, everyone's like, he sold $500 million of stock yesterday. Nah, that's not what happened, guys. These are his trades over the last, this is going back to April of 2025. The last sale here was on January 5th. Oh, this post was interesting though. Like Brian Armstrong knows how to play the fear and greed index, guys. Look at his sells were much larger when the price is up. He's selling a lot less when the price is down. Like Warren Buffett. Not that hard, right? Be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. So Brian Armstrong playing that on real time. I think it's still only like 5% of his ownership of Coinbase stock. So like it's not a big deal. In fact, this is something we're seeing across traditional finance. Everywhere. Insider trading right now, not like insider trading the way of Nancy Pelosi. Insider trading as in like executives selling their own stock of the company they're working for, is like hitting highs we haven't seen in years. And I think it's just a sign that the stock market especially is overvalued right now. I guess that's a general term because it's all relative. It's all depending on how much money is sloshing around all this printing we did the last few years. But I would say right now things seem to be overheated. So when things get overheated, people tend to sell and take profits. That's what we all should be doing. Okay. Obviously, we haven't had those opportunities since 2024, but I don't see anything that's a red flag here. In fact, Coinbase stock has bounced back really well since their earnings call. So to me, not a big deal. The other thing I want to talk about is this FUD over Binance. Well, we're seeing a lot of these posts. I think it's being a little bit overblown at this point. Don't get me wrong, screw Binance. They really fucked us back on, pardon my French. But they really screwed us back after 1010, man. Like that derailed everything. Sucks, is what it is. But there's these reports going around now talking about like, look at this, like their reserves dropped by 103 billion since 1010. Capital's leaving them at record pace. This is BS, okay? And let me show you why. Their reserves are not just stablecoins, guys. Like they have 32% of their reserves are in Bitcoin. Yeah, 30% is in USDT and USDC, but they also have BNB in there. They have a lot of altcoins. What do we know since 1010? The value of all those has dropped significantly. So this is a little bit facetious, saying that this is just people pulling their money off because the vast majority of it, 70%, let's say, is in crypto assets that have dropped by 50%. So of course, capital or their reserve balance is lower because the assets they're holding are worth a lot less. So not to say people haven't been pulling money off Binance. Certainly that's true, but this is being way overblown, in my opinion. The other thing that they announced here is that their Seifu fund, they bought $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. Okay, what is that fund, by the way? I actually looked it up. It's the Secure Asset Fund for Users. Is an emergency fund they created back in July of 2018 to protect users' assets in extreme situations, such as security breaches, hacks, and unforeseen events. It says acts as an insurance-like mechanism. If something goes wrong, Binance can use this fund to compensate affected users rather than dipping into regular deposits. Okay, so that's positive. I think that people are definitely exaggerating how much funds are leaving Binance. All that said, like I still hate Binance for what they did on 1010. Whether or not that was on purpose, I don't really care. That was negligence on their part. So, screw them. But I'm going to call people out for lying. And that's kind of what's happening right now. All right, let's talk about the overall crypto situation right now. Obviously, things are up today. I think a lot of that's on the news of the inflation report coming in better than expected. That's fantastic news. That means that the Fed is more likely to cut rates. That's good for risk on assets. Okay, there's the connection there. It's pretty easy to follow. Will it continue? Guys, the market just looks terrible still right now. I don't think that we're like all of a sudden go back into this raging bull run right now. I think we still have maybe more potential downside. What would change that for me is the key levels that I'm looking at really. Bitcoin, if we get back above 72,000, that would put us effectively back into a longer time frame uptrend again, break the downtrend. More specifically, if we break above 74K, I would be looking at putting longs in place. That's a really key level, $74,000. But 72K would make me more optimistic again. Until that, we're still in a downtrend. Ethereum, I actually do have a short order in play right now at 2135. Actually, let me pull up that chart and explain why. I've hit this several times now and done quite well shorting at that level. Let me go to longer term time frame here. Let's do daily. Ooh. Bring that down. Okay. Oh, we got a comment. What we got here. Thanks for the update. Do I have anything on the silence of the Hivemapper team? I don't know. I haven't been in their Discord. I know Ariel's been posting. I mean, he's been posting about like if you drive a lot, then placing cameras out there. So I know he's been posting a decent amount there. I've seen Hivemapper posts. So I don't know if you mean in the Discord. I haven't spent any time in the Discord, man. I've been freaking busy. I don't spend much time in any of these Discords really, though. I think like most of the Discords at this point are just people going in and complaining a lot. And because the sentiment's so negative around crypto, I'm using my time to do very productive things, like in research ways that I can make money. Like that's kind of where I'm at. But I don't know, man. I guess they haven't been as vocal probably recently, but I think they're building. Ariel is pretty much a workaholic. And you can say what you want about the guy, but he does work hard, that's for sure. Okay, so here's the key level right here, 2140 for me. Like you look at it, it's right here. This was major support for a long time back here. I mean, this is going back to 2024. We dipped here, held support here. This is where we really broke down around the tariff announcement last year. So that support broke. But then again, when we rebounded, Ethereum broke above there and turned the same level into support again, only recently to have broken down again on that big crash. And we have now since on a shorter time frame, and I've played this several times now as like kind of a short term, like just a small short. We've tapped this level several times, guys, 2140, and we just can't break through it. And it's been a critical level over a period of a year and a half, 2 years at this point, maybe even more. I've looked at this chart a lot. So what I've been doing is opening up a short at 21.35, just below it. I have a stop loss at 21.55. So if we do break through it, my loss is very minimal. And I've been letting it, opening that up. I've hit it several times, and then I've been cashing out and taking profits down here. And I've been doing really well with this. Now, again, I have a stop loss slightly above. So if we do break through that and turn into support, it'll stop me out. But I have that in place so that my losses are very minimal. And then I would actually look at opening up along there, if we do turn that into support, because that's such a key level. So that's really the only play I'm looking at right now, is playing a short opportunity on Ethereum at that price level. I don't know if we'll get there. We'll see. But right now, like, I still overall downtrends across the board. And until that changes, I'm not going to say that things are just going to take off. But I'm still looking at building positions and continuing to increase positions in some of these deepen plays that, in my opinion, I expect will do very well when things do rebound. So very excited about that. Speaking of that, like, what can we look at? The White House came out today and said that there are trillions of dollars in institutional capital waiting on the sidelines to enter the crypto market. I think that's probably true. I mean, look at the freaking market cap of gold alone. It's like 30. I don't know what it is now. It's down a little bit, maybe 30 trillion plus. We're sitting at like $3 trillion market cap for all of crypto. That doesn't take a lot of money to rotate over for us to have some massive increases. We're finally hopefully going to get clarity soon. Speaking of the clarity bill here, 39% before June, 52% before 2027. That better happen. So 50-50 chance. That didn't happen. We're kind of cooked. But if the Clarity Act happens, I do believe that there's a lot of sideline capital waiting to come in. 10-10 happened. I think a lot of people pulled their money out and they're like, screw this, man. Like, if one exchange can have a pricing issue and cause a $19 billion collapse and wipe out half the market makers, like, why would I invest in that space? Like, yeah. Think about people, the smart money with a lot of money to play with. They're just going to keep messing around with gold and silver and freaking TradFi until we get that shit figured out. And I think the Clarity Act can help a lot with that. So I believe this to be true. I think there are trillions of dollars sitting there waiting. So that's something to be very excited about. But other than that, man, like, I'm not really looking at any trades unless, we see some crazy headlines that could be a play in gold, silver, any of the majors. Other than that, man, I'm just kind of building my positions. I'm doing a lot of research right now on ways to play energy this year because, I've talked about this a lot with AI data centers. I think energy is going to be a huge focus point this year. Another part of that, though, that feeds over is Akash, and I want to talk about that because I actually interviewed their founder yesterday. First time meeting him, and it was kind of a cool moment because when I first got into crypto back in like 2019, 2020, Akash was like one of my first investments. And, to think that I was just like kind of scratching the surface, like took some blockchain courses and I was like, oh, crypto's cool. And, watching like YouTube crypto channels and stuff and, looking at Akash, which at the time was like over $1 billion, project and investing in it. And then now yesterday I'm like interviewing their founder. It's kind of a cool experience. And we had like 40 minutes scheduled. We ended up staying on and shooting the shit for like an hour and a half. Super cool guy. So Akash is one that I think should be on your radar. Like Greg Asuri actually testified in front of Congress about why decentralized compute projects are going to be so important. You'll notice like shortly thereafter, Scott Besson actually posted on X about that, how we need to utilize decentralized compute. Akash is doing some really cool stuff, man. And one of the things I talk about a lot is like you have to pay attention to what's changing. That would improve, change your investment thesis on a project because like their chart doesn't look great. Just like a lot of the older projects that have been around for some time, but they are moving into the AI agent space. They're doing a lot of hackathons they're hosting in San Francisco. And the amount of turnout has been insane. They actually not only filled their hackathon last week, but they had like 200 people outside waiting to get in. They have another one in 2 weeks, and it's really cool. And Greg's there, like in the mix, man. He's like on the floor, seeing how these guys are using Akash Network, finding out ways that they need to improve things. It's really freaking cool. And I think there's a massive opportunity for them. And they're in the process of making some changes to their protocol to really open up the door for more use cases around AI agents. So that'll be in the interview. Really exciting stuff there. And the other thing that I think is very key is that they are introducing a burn and mint equilibrium. So one of the things they focused on last year was making the user experience better. He's like, in 2023, 2024, there's such a shortage of compute. Using crypto for the payment rails was not a problem, but he's like, now that some of that's eased up a bit, we had to make the user experience better because, if people had to go through the trouble of buying AKT and, in order to use the network and all of that, now that there's competition that was easier to use, that became a sticking point. So they've really worked out a system so people can use their credit card on the back end. It's still going to buy tokens. But this burn and mint equilibrium, now all that revenue is going to be buying tokens in the open market. So that's a really big deal. They are reconnecting the fundamentals to their token. And so, the last couple of years, they've really been heads down building. But I think from a token investment standpoint, it's important to note when those types of changes happen. So if we look at Akash right now, it's sitting at 32.5 cents, right around its bear market low from the last bear market. Look at all here. I mean, this thing got way up there, guys. But like here we are back here. And got down to 25 cents. This is like the bear market bottoms, guys. Like I remember looking back in 2023, this is right past FTX. We had a year where it's just like kind of dead. Kind of similar to what we're seeing right now, actually. But we had, this is the Solana situation, FTX. And then it was later that year, we started getting some life, right around. Maybe we'll see that. Maybe I think this summer, man, we could start getting some serious life again. It might look very similar to what we saw here. And you'll see very quickly, it didn't take long. We saw some months where things started coming back, and then boom, 2024 was when things went parabolic. So here we are back down, in those lower ranges again. They are, let me pull up their dash. I think that's really important actually to pull up too. Cash network. Let me pull up their network stats. Boom. Here we go. So this is a trend that's worth pulling up. If you look at their revenue, US dollar spent, you're like, man, that doesn't seem like a lot, right? All time. But if you look at where it started, like they had some revenue coming in, and then really in the last year, look at this freaking growth trajectory. That's what you want to see. And they're playing in huge on this AI agent run. I think that there's a lot of opportunity right now for Akash to outperform. And in the GPU space, full transparency at this point, like them and Nosana are the only two I trust their figures of. Like, not to say that some of these others can't do well, like your IONETs, like I'm not personally not touching Aether, but I think you have to question some of the revenue statistics around those. IONET has done a good job of correcting after their original CEO had some serious red flags around him. But Nosana and Akash are the two I trust the most. Not to say other tokens can't do well, but those are the two I'd be looking to leverage right now as far as compute projects. But I think there's a good case to be made, man, with everything going on in the Web 2 space, the power issues, getting access to GPUs. I think that they could play quite well here throughout the years. Things kind of rebound a bit. How about this? Could this be a use case for 375 AI?
The only thing, it could be an exact or an in range, but the only way an under is hitting in Glenwood is if you're getting right-hand turns. Like if these guys coming straight are brake checking on the right and they're slowing.
Just for some context, guys, people are betting in the markets now on how many cars in a specific period of time are going to pass by a camera. That's where we're at now.
Everyone down. Glenwood's an over, man. Always. Glenwood's going over.
That's so crazy.
Glenwood's going over. It's too busy. The Sharilova camera is glitching as fuck. Dude, can I stop hammering the over on a traffic jam? Wait, this traffic jam might help us. Get the fucking green! Hit the right-hand turn! The fucking idiot at the bottom left is hitting the turn! Holy fuck! Get traffic moving, you fucking idiot!
Wow, I hadn't watched that whole video. Yeah, that's where we're at now with prediction markets, guys. We're betting on traffic. Oh, maybe a potential use case for 375 AI. I'm kidding. Kind of, mostly. Let's look at 375 AI, though. Sitting at 1.7 cents. We saw this like crazy bleed out, you know, man, after we were holding pretty strong around 3 cents. And then we saw the situation going on with Bitmart just draining it. Big buyer stepped in, shot back down. We're kind of, I mean, we haven't seen any major selling. So I don't know what to think of this right now. I know I've said this a million times, like to me it's a short-term issue. My goal is to, well, I'll just say I have some pretty lofty goals on how many ETH tokens I want to accumulate over the next few months, because this is one that I'm holding for when the next bull run begins. And I think this thing's going to go freaking nuts. So the problem though, right now, why I'm not like aping anymore is because we don't know what's going on here. Like Bitmart is still at 617,000 on 24-hour volume. You notice these asterisks, like this means that Coin Market Cap is not even including it in their daily volume calculations because the spread is so bad. You know, because the liquidity is so bad on their exchange. That's what's happening. Someone's leveraging that spread in some way, shape, or form, which is really freaking frustrating. Oh, there you go. Significantly differs from the cryptocurrency's price. So that's got to get figured out. I know the team's working on it. I actually reached out to Bitmart myself because I'm like, you sons of bitches, we got to get this figured out. Let's talk about some other stuff. I was interviewed by Andy. He's got a good 142,000 following. And he posted our interview today. So it's getting some views. It's a good conversation. Andy's a great guy. If you don't subscribe to him, make sure to do so. 142K. Guys, I'm sitting at like 2,300 or something like that. I have people like comment. They're like, how come your follower count's so low? I'm like, I don't know, man. I really don't know. Maybe I picked a bad time to be a YouTuber in crypto when it's dead. Maybe I'm not good at marketing. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm going to keep showing up, though. And eventually people will show up where they won't. I know you guys are. I appreciate you all. I'll keep showing up for you guys. Let's see here. And let's get a live look into some of the AI agent plays I'm looking at. I have actually holdings in. So, you know, again, my overall strategy, just to reiterate, I'm playing the majors on longs and shorts, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Start adding Solana to that mix a little bit more. Also playing gold and silver. So I'm going to be a little bit more transparent about those trades when I enter them because I've been freaking crushing it. And I am building up my DPIN bags for my conviction plays. And then I'm looking at what's trending in the crypto space right now. It is AI agents on base. And that's where it's all at right now. Kelly Claude got into this one around 4 million originally. I've added a couple times, sitting at $12 million market cap. This is an AI agent that's building its own apps, launching them. They said their first one approved in the Apple App Store, making money, generating revenue, buying its own tokens and burning them with that revenue. So that's a very interesting one. Felix is another one. Woo! Up to 2.5 million. Let's freaking go. I started getting into this one, I think back here, like 500,000 before that big run up. Now, obviously, it's just kind of been like grinding up. But I think this one looks like it could take off at any time. Got a pretty decent bag there. Osto's another one. This one is built by the guy that is a builder on MetaMask. And this one I got in very early on too. This one's been running up. You've got this one, Atlas Forge. Draining back down again, you son of a bee. Let me see if this is live. Kind of this one at like 300,000. This one's like building digital art. And the thing that's noteworthy about this, so I also own some of this. I don't know if you guys seen Banker. So Banker, no, that's not the one. Banker on base. This guy right here. So this is an $88 million market cap. I had a chance to get on this one really early, and I kind of faded it, but I did get in. I still have a bag. So this one's going absolutely parabolic. The builder of Banker commented on a post earlier on this Atlas Forge. So to me, that's an interesting one. Guys, these are like total narrative plays. Okay, so like this is maybe 5% of my altcoin portfolio right now, probably less actually. It's been growing, but the whole goal here is to, hit on a couple of these and pull some money into deep in place, like just playing that narrative to be able to funnel money into other more serious investments. So that's the dealio here. This is not something that I'm like going in with a big bag or anything, just full transparency. Woo! Well, it's Friday. It's Friday, baby. Be on the lookout. I have not posted my Aoki interview. I gotta finish finish editing that, man. It's just I've been crazy busy, like freaking nuts, in a good way. In a good way though. But I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna work on that a lot this weekend. Hopefully get that posted. And then I'd like to get the Akash one next week. Check out that one on your friend Andy, that interview I did. That's pretty solid about DePIN. Some of this, a lot of stuff, if you come on my live stream, stuff that you probably already heard. So, but still worth watching. And that's what I got for y'all. So I'll let you know. I'll post on X if I enter any trades this weekend based on any major events that come out. And we'll start putting all that macro knowledge to use. Let's make some money, baby. Let's make some money. All right, y'all. Have a good weekend.